All right. Okay. Welcome everybody to another marketing roundtable. Let's get the presentation up. Fantastic to see you all, and let's welcome you in. So, if possible, when we start to do this, I'd like to try and make it feel like the good old days where we actually were in a meeting. So, if you can keep your video on, I know it's not always easy if you're out walking the dog, etc. But please, if you can. Also, questions are brilliant in the chat. Help are brilliant in the chat. Big long intros with lots of links all over the place is difficult because it just clogs up the chat. So if you can, questions and help within the chat and add to the conversation would be ideal. Step two, Joe, I think that's for you. I'll mute you. Okay, so part one of today is about the 9 steps to $1 million in revenue. We're going to go through that step by step. I'm going to use the examples that we had just before we turned on the recording as a way of kind of filtering and enriching the presentation today and make it applicable. And then afterwards, we're going to do a bit of a Q&A, right? But before we start, and obviously, you know, I think it's very important when we're all seeing the horrendous atrocities that's happening over in the Ukraine. And one of our $1 million sprinters, Tony Lockwood, is really championing an appeal. It's an appeal to make social media go blue and yellow on the 12th of March. And it's kind of a solidarity behind the plight of the Ukraine, and it's very much doing what you can to share this message. And he worked out that if all of us just get one other person to make their profile go blue and yellow, within a couple of layers, you're going out to tens of millions of people. And so this is my passing on of what I'll be doing on the 12th of March. And obviously you make your own decision on what you want to do here, but I'll be simply making my profile blue and yellow, and I'll be just having a post up there that goes blue and yellow as well. So if you can and you feel like you want to get behind this, the 12th of March, maybe even take a little screenshot of this if you wanted to, and then you can pass that on. I've also posted about it on my LinkedIn profile as well as a bit of a message that you can share as well if you'd like to. That'd be fantastic, just to show our support. Moreover than that, if you do feel obliged to get involved in any other ways of supporting, it seems like there is a horrendous amount of atrocities going on. So I don't think we need to raise any more awareness, because clearly the news is doing that. But there's little things that we can all do, and maybe this is one of them. So thank you if you do get involved in that. Okay. So 9 steps to $1 million in revenue. Oh, I love this. So this is very much around the thesis that I put together and the practical application of what I see as an expert business, the steps that you need to be able to make to be able to scale your business past that magic £1 million mark. So $1 million mark. And actually, the strange thing about it, which is, why is it $1 million spread? Why do you always talk about dollars, Richard? Clearly, you're not American. Well, as an expert business, we did an analysis of what's the sweet spot. And the sweet spot for a revenue is about £60,000 per month in revenue. Why is that an important amount of money? Well, through the system that I'll show you in the final step 9, you'll see that about 50% of your revenue can come out after tax to the business owner. That means that into your bank account every single month, the trophy of this sprint is £30,000 into your bank account as the owner of your business after tax. Now, that in the UK, if you take out big mortgages for lovely houses and cars on the driveway and private schools and all the other stuff, you will still only get out up to, I mean, I did the analysis, about £17,000 is about the maximum I can actually find to be able to spend. And so therefore you then get an extra sort of 10K to be able to invest, to be able to create an investment pot. And then that investment pot ultimately, after a course of about 7 years, will then generate the same amount of revenue to be able to finance your lifestyle. So that sweet spot, if you can run it for 5 to 7 years at about $1 million in revenue, will ultimately then overtake the residual income of having to have an actual trading business. So then you can sit back and get used to that same lifestyle and live off the interest and the revenue from that investment. So there's a whole world of conversation around that. But as I say to my clients or people prospective clients, I can show you the complicated side of that. But the simplistic view of it is hit $1 million in revenue, £61,000 per month. You will then find yourself in a lovely position, and that will kind of do all the hopes and dreams that you could ever possibly imagine, right? So hence why there is a little bit more substance to going, hit $1 million, man. But I did it twice. And the two businesses that I took up to, actually, both of these went to £1 million in revenue, but $1 million is the target that I put my clients. The first one at the bottom one, Yomp, my marketing agency. And we were a digital marketing agency, really specialized, or the aha moment we had was that we actually specialized on helping coaches, consultants, course creators to be able to put together digital marketing funnels. So that's what we did, the practical application of that. We became a one product agency for targeting one audience, and we scaled and grew and then ultimately sold that business on, and really nice business to get involved in. Second business was an ex-client of ours, and he lost his business, unfortunately. He had 3 vans. That's Alex there, just handing over the keys to those vans. And we scaled that business to 7 vans on the road, over $1 million in revenue, and sold it. Again, that was a one product business because we really majored on boiler servicing. That was the one thing we're known for. We even called the company Boiler Servicing 24/7, right? And so both businesses specialize in the target audience. So Southeast homeowners, very much a female demographic that we went after with the boiler business, coaches, courses, consultants in the marketing agency, and both of those niching and having one lead product to sell them was the reason why those had success. So I'm going to give you a little bit more meat on the bone, but that's the kind of highlights of that journey so far. Okay, so step 1, how do you start out this route? Well, the first thing you need to do is to solve a pain and do it well within a solution that scales. So the big problem we see for clients is that they can't articulate actually the pain that they solve for their client, and therefore the result that they deliver. We talk about actually sticking the result at the top of a journey and then doing a wiggly line back to where your clients start now. And then that is your solution. That's basically 80% of how you do the sales process. I'm going to keep on jumping onto blackboards as we do this, so just bear with me. I usually have a mouse for this, so you actually have to you're gonna have to work with me here, because this is going to be messier than usual, because I'm using like a one of the finger pad things to be able to do this. But let's just think about it this way, right? So the result, well, hey, that's an R. So the result, God, I don't even know what that looks like. I don't know. Anyway, it looks like one of those jelly beans with a big nose. So the result that you get to clients is here. So in our, for example, my current agency, we help people to be able to scale to $1 million in revenue, right? That's the result. That's why people come on with us. The reason why we know that we can help people is that we resonate where they are now. And I can say, hey, look, I remember when I was first starting out, I was selling stuff for too cheap. I was trying to sell too many stuff to too many people. I understand where you are now. You haven't really got your marketing funnel sorted out. You don't really do anything other than word of mouth, or maybe some light touch social media. I get it. I understand where you are now. And so how do you get from where you are now to the result? Well, there's this lovely little wiggly line. I can do wiggly lines. And the journey from where you are now to result is, say, a 1, 2, maybe sort of 6-step process in this instance. And you can then see these checkpoints that go from this where you are now to the result. And that is a solution that you can help people. So you might help people to be able to get a 6-pack if you're a health person. And so the result for doing that is that step 1 might be sort out your diet. Step 2 might be start doing intermittent fasting. Step 3 might be drink X amount of liters of water. Step 4 might be able to go on a gym regime, right? So you go up from where you are now to result. Someone buys the journey as much as they buy the result. We always talk about that. So if you can't articulate who you help and the journey that's common for everybody and the result you give them, then you probably are selling too many things to too many people. I had a client or a prospective client who I was only speaking to 2 days ago, and he mentioned that he He helps both enterprise companies and startups doing any software development type project that they might think of. And I said to him, well, look, at the end of the course, look, I don't really think I can help you. You're not kind of in my target demographic. It would be nice having a conversation. But tell me who, if I was to recommend you to anybody, what would you get me to look out for? And he said, well, any business that's looking to do some bespoke software development, we can help. And the issue is that's a category. That's like any business that can do software. I understand you can do software development. I understand that's the business that you are, but yet, I'm not, you're not going to ping in my mind when I'm having a conversation in 3 months from now at a networking event, and I come across someone talking about it, because it's too generic, right? Whereas if he said, I help accountants produce better than zero software solutions for their clients because of this pain and this pain that they commonly have, then I'm so like, oh, okay, right, well, that's an easy recommendation. I know loads of accountants. I might even go and reach out to a couple now and say you can have a chat. So hence why you want to work on that way. So that's the point of it, and that's the result of how you put together a product. And the second piece is around, it's got to scale, right? So if you've got to take everybody on this journey one-to-one, then I remember when I first started out in coaching world, I was doing one-to-one. After I got to 9 one-to-one clients, which I saw twice a month, I was like completely blown out in terms of how much time I could have. I was spending so much time doing one-to-one sessions. I was giving them like an hour and a half each, so that's, say if you're doing 10, so that's 20 hour-and-a-half sessions. So, now that's 30 hours that you're kind of delivering, and it's just massive, and you couldn't do them back to back because it was too much energy. And so your limit was like 10 clients, which is not going to get you to $1 million in revenue, right? It can get you to a nice lifestyle, but it's not going to get you to that free from the business. And of course, you are the business then. So actually, could you not put together some sort of program? So this is with the experts in the room. So say it's an online course or online program that you're putting together. And then from there, you put in drop-in clinics, right? So your consumers can consume the program, and then they can drop in at your drop-in clinics, and people that are joining can drop in and see people just ahead of them, people can see them just behind them. You can then only work the 3 hours within the month, within the week, and that means that you can have 50 to 100 people. You might even do one a day. I do one a day now for my clients, and it means that although I've got tons of people, working with me, I see about 8 to 10 of them each drop-in clinic. And so hence why it's a scalable solution, works really well. You add a couple of other clever things I can show you guys. If you're interested, just reach out to me. I can show you how this works. But you can add in the community in there and actually then put some accountability into the community, use a team to be able to work that accountability. I have games makers, which are my basically customer success managers who have personal relationships with each of the clients. So then they reach out to them and keep them on track. So there's lots of scalability pieces that you can put together if you build it right. But if you're not, and you're building it one-to-one and it's very much you, then you'll hit a glass ceiling. Well, you won't hit a glass ceiling, you'll bang your head up against a burnout ceiling very quickly, right? Cool. Okay, so that's step one. Really went deep on step one, but I hope that helped, because I know, Maurice, you were dealing with some bits on that front, etc. So I wanted to deep dive on that. Okay, so step two, find and hang out with the people you solve a pain for, your audience. So this is maybe kind of nudging towards your thoughts. And when we were talking about, well, how do we find that audience? So in the 5-day challenge, we showed you how to do a lovely search and be able to find people on LinkedIn. But you do realize that your audience is also clustering in other locations. And you can go and find that audience once you know who you solve that pain for, which is step one. Go and hang out with them. I'm not saying you've got to do anything clever. Just go and chill, go and answer some questions, hang out. One of the nice ways that I love doing this is through Facebook groups. So we whip onto Facebook now, and we just start to think about, there you go, Alex, well done, Alex. I can see that you got the Ukraine flag up, going blue and gold for it. So if you go and actually think about, Mia, tell me about your audience. Tell me about your audience. Who's your audience?
Okay, so, and this is it, you're making me think now that I need to go towards business owners, CEOs, and professionals.
Tell me, actually, this is quite interesting. You see immediately, if you haven't got step one sorted, step 2 is hard, right? So this is very much chronological.
Okay, so you mean what problem I'm trying to solve?
Yeah, and then to who?
Okay, so the problem I'm trying to solve is give people more energy and help them lose weight
Mm-hmm.
with limited time,
who?
and they have limited time.
Okay, so limited time. So who has limited time?
That's why I was thinking of business owners. You can say mums as well, but then you're getting too broad. No, I can't.
Well, you business owners can be mums.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
So women,
And that's quite a nice niching, right?
Yeah.
I think the category is called a mumpreneur. Now you're talking about mums that are running small businesses on the side whilst also having to deal with families. Now suddenly we're actually going, oh, I know some mumpreneurs. And actually, all suddenly I'm actually working out, well, I can see why a different tailored program could work for them, because they'll have different problems to say, I don't know, I'm going to paraphrase, but it doesn't matter if it's a female or a man, but someone who is not a parent, who is commuting to London, and therefore maybe they've got different issues like grabbing like Starbucks on the way on the train, etc., versus a mumpreneur who is having to kind of, gets used to maybe making meals and then she's snacking all the time, etc., and working through whilst doing the kids stuff, and also then juggling the business on the side, etc. It's a different set of challenges, and so therefore the program can be tailored, right? We can all do this tailoring. So let's just try and think about this. If we'd go on to say Facebook, we would go, well, you can just go mumpreneur, I think. It's a massive category, by the way. Mumpreneur is worthwhile. So mumpreneurs, here you go. So we've got 892 members in there. Lovely. But then I think if you actually widen this up, maybe that's just so you could do mum, if you do mumpreneur, look at all this stuff. There is definitely more than seems to be meeting there. Here you go, Mumpreneurs UK network, Mumpreneurs Crown network, Mumpreneurs. There is loads of people that you can start to hang out with and work there. So you would simply go into that group. So this is the hanging out bit. This is the non-selling. And you just go and start to be able to answer any questions that are related to your subject matter. You start connecting with people and start actually liking and commenting. We talk about within our clients, we talk about this CLAM methodology, which is comment, like, add, message. So you comment on their stuff, you like what they're saying, you add them as a friend, and then you message them on the side to say, hey, great question. By the way, I've got like a 7 mistakes people make book, which you might read, or ebook or whatever it is that you might find interesting, and you drop off that value, right? So hang out with your audience, get feedback for it, really start to know what their pains and give them solutions around it, right? Cool. Step 3 is that once you can see them, then we need to siphon. So we're hanging out with them, we're like everybody's best bae, we're adding tons of value. Now we need to take them from someone else's audience, right? So that is a mumpreneur group. Someone owns that group. And we need to transition them from someone else's audience into your audience. Now, say on LinkedIn, we were doing LinkedIn outreach. So the hanging out could be, you're hanging out, going to other people's events on LinkedIn, because you can actually start to do that and network with people, or you're hanging out with LinkedIn groups. On Facebook, you're hanging out with groups, you go to events. Other places like on YouTube, you're putting comments into YouTube, or you're hanging out and stuff, right? But now we need to then siphon those people. So that's the message to go, hey, I've actually got this 7 tips ebook, which I think might help you. This is in the messaging that you're sending to people privately. Would you like it? You send them to some sort of landing page where they download the tips, bam, they're now in your email list. So they are now in a place that you own, your email list. The other piece is that they could go to a group that you own. So if you're running a Facebook community strategy and you set up your own Facebook group, you might say, hey, for more tips like this, I've also got a Facebook group that you might want to be part of. Now, you can't do this publicly in a group because it's not nice for the group owner to see, and actually you will get kicked out very quickly if you do that in a group. And that's completely understandable, because if someone does it in my group and starts trying to siphon people from my stuff, then I'd be annoyed. So why would I do it to them? But you earn the right through CLAM. I wish it was a better word, but it stays in my mind. But you earn a right through commenting, liking, adding them as a friend, and then messaging them to say, hey, why don't you pop over to look at this ebook if you want them to go to your email list, or come over to my Facebook group where there's more stuff like that. And now, bam, you've got the audience. You've earned the right to work in those audiences, right? Cool. Okay, so step 3, get them in there. And I feel like, you know, some sort of group or in your email list is how you earn the right to then talk to them, right? Cool. Oh, is it going to let me click the button? There we go. Okay, fine. Now step 4. So now we start to own them. We want to start to talk about, well, actually, what is it that we're going to do to over deliver? So this is so a lot of the time we talk about this kind of awareness, consider, convert, deliver. So many of you would have seen our methodology here. So step 1 and step 2, well, step 2 ultimately, and step 3 is starting to go from awareness into consider. Awareness is like you're hanging out with your audience, you're connecting with them, you're messaging them, you're starting to become aware of you. Then you're bringing them into consider, like, hey, come and have a look at my ebook, come join my email list, come join my group. They can start to consider you, not as being like, okay, we now know that you're to do with health stuff, but actually now I'm reading your stuff and going, oh, actually you could be the solution to the pain that I've got. And so hence why I'm now coming down into consider, right? Start to hang out. So consider could be to put together a weekly moment, something like this. So people are coming and hanging out, and you know, we're spending a bit more time, we're learning, right? We're building network. Or they might be coming along to watch some of your lives that you're putting out, or they might be consuming some of your good stuff on YouTube. They might subscribe to your podcast. Whatever it is, you need to give tons of juicy value pre-sale to be able to make sure that they're actually going to enjoy it. You know, so if they're joining your email list, let's just jump back onto here. Crikey, this is going to be interesting. Let me just clear this. Excuse my writing. If anybody didn't hear, I didn't have my mouse today, so it's all very squiggly. So someone comes in and downloads your ebook, or even joins your Facebook group, because you can ask for their email address when they come into the Facebook group, right? And then that takes them into a long-term warming up. Even when they connect you on LinkedIn, you can bring them into a warming up sequence if they've got their email address on the profile. That warming up, if you want to make it an email warming up, can be an email every week with a bit more value, a bit more value, a bit more value, right? That could be a consideration piece. That's a long-term warming up email sequence, as we said. You could add in a second consideration if you wanted, such as that weekly moment, right? And then these emails can also back up and do the invites into that weekly moment as well. But that's so important to be able to have some way of showing your credibility and thought leadership, and for them to see you as the person that's the route to the solution. And if you haven't got that, you're basically taking people from awareness straight through to the date. You're kind of being the Tinder. You swipe left and you're then saying, hey, let's go out for a date. You're not doing enough of the kind of conversation and warming people up. So that's where you want to put that in. You've got to get that consideration piece in. So important. Cool. Okay, so that's step 4. Over deliver value for free pre-sale. Really will help you. The next thing is to create a high converting sales process that relies on scripts and template, not sales talent. Now, this is really important. We've all been sold to by a salesperson that gives boring, template-driven drivel, right? I'm not saying you want to read from a script. What I'm saying is that everybody should be able to write the script of what their strategy sessions or sales process is first, because that will mean that you've got some clear sections within that script. You've got some clear categories that you cover off with everybody, so then you can add value within that sales meeting. So by adding value within that sales meeting, you are, and by knowing how that has a rhythm, it becomes something you can perfect over time. It means that you can keep on adding a little bit extra, tweaking, changing, etc. And then once you get it perfect, you can then train someone and give them that, because it's the script, it's the method of how you sell that does the sale. It's not about how charming and charismatic you are. And when we're entrepreneurs, we find, especially expert business, we find that actually we do well across the line our first few sales, because we have to, because all the chips are stacked or red. If you don't make the sale, you know, we're not growing our business, we're not going to be able to put bread on the table, right? And so that's where personality-based sales come in. And actually, when we really think about it, we just need to script that right and make the process the thing that sells, and then we can actually then give that to other people, give that to other people. Otherwise, you're just kind of making it up as you go along, right? So that's why step 5 is so important, knowing how you make sales and then putting together a script so you can actually then bring sales talent into your business, right? So remember, this is how you get to $1 million revenue. We suggest that when people get to about 40K a month revenue and want to get up to 60, that's where you probably need to start unpeeling yourself a bit from sales and actually start to bring in other people within the sales team. So you're not having to do everything, because you will have a number of clients to keep on working on and keeping the content fresh, as well as needing to keep the machine working on the sales side. And that's where you need to start to develop more help, right? And so that's where this step 5 really comes in. Cool. Step 6, crank up the volume through paid ads. Now, once you're getting leads into your business and you've got sort of a nice funnel, so we talk about, you know, getting people aware. So if we kind of look at this, so many of you will know that when we put together campaigns for clients, we do this kickoff session with them. So I go with clients and we put a strategy together. This is one of our clients now, and this would be a tailored strategy. So you can see a funnel. It's a visualization of a funnel that is very specific for this individual, right? So for example, she's doing LinkedIn into a weekly educational event, a warming up email sequence, strategy sessions, different emails to follow up stuff, phone call follow-ups, and then she's pushing people to flagships and then doing a decision call and signing contracts, right? So this is kind of the funnel. Now, once you've got that working and stuff is actually happening and going through, then you've got a system where you can look at a conversion rate. For every 100 people that go through this funnel, I get 1 sale. So I've got a 100-to-1 ratio. So now I've got a system. So all you need to do in step 6 is to crank up the system. So when it comes to LinkedIn, that's all about putting automation in and crank it up. So actually you can then get a consistent flow through. When it comes to Facebook, that could be Facebook ads, or you could add Facebook ads into this method as a secondary funnel and to be able to then crank it up through paid ads. You could also use LinkedIn ads, crank it up through that. So if we know for every 100 people that go through this funnel, 1 sale comes out and the average client value is say 10 grand, that means that we would be really willing to go and invest, say, another 5 grand to go get 100 people for it, right? And the point is you can get people for a lot less money than 100, but the customer lifetime value is 10 grand. So what are you willing to invest to buy 10 grand? Well, actually, would you be willing to invest 7, 8 grand to go buy 10 grand? Of course you would do. Ultimately, that's what these systems do. Now, the game is to be able to get that 100 leads for 500 quid. And then that's a 9.5 grand profit margin. That's when it gets fun, right? And so that's where the game comes in. That's the scalability. And that's when you start to go, okay, now I can see how getting to $1 million in revenue is as simple as getting a system that works. That's step 1 to 5, then cranking the system with more volume. And the system, once you crank it, will tell you if the system starts to creak and break, and then you've got to revisit the other steps and keep on plugging those holes, right? Cool, huh? Okay, step 7, you're going to need help now. So once you've got the templates from step 5, then step 7 is that you can start to recruit a commission-based, role-specific sales team. What that means is that commission-based is basically you're rewarding people for success. We love success, so we want more sales. So helps by reward people for that. As they start to develop and grow, then bring that in, and then they'll really, really thrive within that environment. That's what salespeople do. They thrive with commission-based roles and bring in specific roles. So you might have someone that's really great at opening up opportunities for you. So that's, say, the following up of your leads to get them into strategy sessions. But you might have someone that's great at that, really keep them working there and to empower and coach them and help them as much as possible to get more and more inquiries coming through that way of marketing. You might bring someone in to actually close the deals for you. So you might get someone who's just an awesome closer. Now, I know from doing this a long time, if you're getting someone that has to create the opportunities, get them into actual appointments, do the appointments, do the sales, an end-to-end person, they're either incredibly hard to find, and also they are doing stuff that probably isn't optimized. Because if someone is great at closing deals, just get them to close deals and then get 2 or 3 other people that sits around them, finding as many opportunities as possible for that person to feed them with appointments. And so it's about segregating the skill set to get appointment setters and appointment closers, deal closers, and they work hand in hand through all those lovely systems that you put together in step 5 to make the training and the outsourcing of that even better, right? So that's step 7. That's when you're really rocking, and boom, you pop out through the top of your sales funnel as well. Step 8, develop a partner program client referral system. So now that you know it's working and you're winning clients, you would not believe, obviously we all hear about word of mouth being, you know, where most people get their leads from. Well, word of mouth is genuinely the best marketing that you can get. So really go after it. Word of mouth marketing will help. So actually, what are you doing to inspire word of mouth marketing? What are you doing to be able to get more leads from your current clients? So have you got a partner program? Have you got a referral system? So for example, we pay £250 to our clients for any referral that we close. And we constantly talk about that. Now, we also pay that to anybody that isn't our client as well, who wants to refer, right? And so it's just an upfront 250, thank you, because it's nice to get a bulky payment. We see that work better than actually giving a percentage of the monthly fee, because everybody looks at it and goes, oh, okay, my bank just got 250 quid. That's awesome. It's in someone's mind more, as opposed to saying, oh, we'll pay you, you know, a percentage of, and then actually you're only getting like 30 quid a month or whatever it is. It doesn't have the same effect on the person that's referred it. So you want to be able to create some sort of program that's easy for people to refer, and also really encourages them and pays them a nice payout for doing so as well. And you can go higher than that, learn that, however it does. It's just an example, right? But step 8 is vital, because they're the easy wins, which are the referral wins, right? And then finally, step 9, implement a profit system and start to accumulate founder wealth with company growth. And this is a nice 360 degrees, because it comes back to what I was talking about at the start. If you can start to get into a position where you can do what's called Profit First, is the book that this is definitely like, you know, read Profit First. My take on this, because it's slightly different with the UK because of VAT, etc. But essentially, income comes into one bank account, right? So you get separate bank accounts. You immediately take the VAT. Every one of my clients that we work with will need to be registered with VAT very soon. The reason why is because you'll just start to grow and scale with, you know, you have too much, so you've got to register for that. That's our UK-based clients anyway, so it's different in different countries. So you immediately take it out. So if you think about it, £1,000 actually is £1,200, because that's 20% VAT, right? So 120% comes into income accounts, and then you put the 20% into VAT. Now, the nice thing about it is that ultimately you'll be able to do a VAT return, so that will have a positive balance that will accumulate in there over time. That's cool, and I'll tell you how to do that in a second. Then after that, you then dissect these other income pieces into a number of different bank accounts, right? So the first one is the, oh, hello, that was up there. So the first one is the operations expenses, right? So OPEX account. So with your operational expenses account, that's all the costs of your business. That's things like the ads, the team, etc. And if you then take that as being 30%, then that keeps the business. So it's Parkinson's theory, mass expands to the room that you give it, right? So if you only say 30% of my revenue is what I'm going to expend on team, softwares, all that sort of fun stuff, then you can only put 30% in that bank account. And so therefore you only spend that. Back in my agency days, where we had massive kind of cash flow problems, we had lots of cash, but then God knows it kind of went every single month. At the end of the month, I'm like, how am I not paying myself as much as I'm paying some of my stuff? Like, what's going on? And that's why I really had to go in after this, because we were just paying for stupid stuff, because it was like all the money, which was significant, came into one bank. And then it's like, brilliant, we'll just pay all this stuff and we'll go take the team out and like do staff dues and all that sort of fun stuff. And then like suddenly, there's no money to pay me. And so restrain it into a 30% please, right? The next thing is tax. So you can put your tax. So you put your tax in here at 5%. So the point being is, 15%, sorry, 15%. The point being is that, remember your corporation tax is based upon profit. So the profit account in here, is 5%. So you do 5% of revenue, but you'll then have 15% of revenue as tax. Now, obviously, corporation tax is only like 19% of profit. If you're only making 5% profit, then there's a big excess of tax. And that's because the owner's comp is 50%. So this is the owner's comp, and this is 50. And so 50% of revenue sits in there, and you pay yourself that. And then the accumulation of the tax account means that it covers off the corporation tax easily, leaving about 13% of entire turnover of your business sitting there waiting to then go and pay the owner's tax, your personal income tax. So that's why I'm saying it's 50% after tax, because your company here pays the tax through basically giving you a second dividend that is then used for you to then pay tax. Because also you'll have an excess here in the VAT account, and the VAT account excess also then comes in and pays your owner's account, right? So both of these look after the owner, and then that does your owner's tax as well. So it does work out. It's not an exact science, but it works out to be essentially most of this will then give you an extra dividend, and then ultimately 50% of revenue works out to be owner's comp, which is a nice place to be. Doesn't matter if you're making 20K, 10K, you know, this still is great to be able to work this system, because it just means that you're working owner wealth alongside company growth. So my friends, that is the system. Oh, Suzanne, good to see you. How you doing?
Hello, Richard.
Right? Good to see a few people kind of popping into this chat. So as always, we're coming up to about 1:45 now. So officially, you know, we'll be ending, but I'll be sticking around for 10 minutes to answer further questions. What I will say is that if anybody wants to go through exactly how those 9 steps actually applies to their business, what I do is I offer a strategy session for people who want to just go through this. And let me just show you here. If you go onto my website here, you'll see at the top, there's this link here, which is the free strategy session. So you'd go onto this site here, and then you'll see in here, it's basically a 45-minute session. So I'm just going to see there, that orange button goes into a booking, which I'm going to put into the chat now. So I want you to all jump onto there and actually then click on this link and check out this page. So I only offer a few of these strategy sessions, and my diary, as you can see, is pretty rammed for this month. You know, look at that March. You only have sessions that are coming up in a few weeks' time, and I'll be moving these away from being one-to-one strategy sessions to group strategy sessions after I come back from Florida in April. And so this is probably one of the last chances, if you haven't had a strategy session before with me and you're interested about growing your business and actually looking how you can scale to $1 million revenue, then that is the route that you want to be able to jump onto. So you would simply go onto there, click onto that, select one of those dates, and see there's not many of them, so be quick, and then jump on there. Do it now. So I appreciate that, and I've just had someone come in on the phone now who's booked one. So do jump on there. I think, did I put that in the chat? I did. So looking forward to anyone who's willing to do that. And actually, Suzanne, that's very kind. You've just you've got asked a question as well. So I'll tell you what, I will unshare and start taking questions. But I'd love to see you all in that strategy session.
Can I just ask a question about your diagram of the revenue split? Because I can never get 50% in my pocket, Richard. So we clearly need to talk about this more on our one-to-one sessions.
We do.
But I mean, on my simplistic calculate, so we're doing about $1 million revenue at the moment, and I'm not getting anything like 50%. So if I mean, our profit margin is probably 50%. Then we're paying corporation tax on that. And then, so on my figures, hang on a sec, I just scoped this out earlier. On my figures, so say we're doing 60,000 a month, which we're not, it's a bit more lumpy than that. It's not a nice, sort of equal 60K a month, but say we are. And so we're making 50% profit on that, which is 30K. I pay 20% corporation tax on that, which brings it down to 24K. I then pay I'm in the 45% plus tax bracket. So my personal tax on that brings that down to 13K a month. So what am I missing?
So there's a few bits to kind of look at when you're doing this. So first of all, the bringing it down bit, we need to be looking at where we're borrowing the money from. So let's have a look at this. So remember, it's an owner's comp account. It doesn't need to be, it's not a profit account. It is a complete, hang on, let me just get up my spreadsheet. It is basically the money that you're going to take out. So this 50% here is money you're going to take out. Now you've got to look at that in every single way of being able to remove money from a business, be it intelligent ways of doing expenses, etc. You've got tax-free allowances, etc. you can work on. So those are the little small quick wins, but it's only going to be a small amount of it. You then got to look at the fact that actually this 15% is also, you've got the 5% here, which is profit. So that kind of increases the profit margin. Actually, if you're actually taking the owner's comp and the profit is about 55%, so you're really reducing down a lot of these costs, which gives you the 5% in here. So 15%.
That's a bit, I don't understand. Why is that 15% and not a 20% corporation tax?
Because the 15% is of the entire turnover. So the entire turnover. Right.
So you're not doing that based on, on the actual profit. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
You're saying there's only 5. So what's the 5% profit?
That is the profit. So the point being is the owner's count. So when you actually look at the profit versus.
But why is, sorry to interrupt, but
yes, again.
Profit is still what I'm taking out of the business. So are you saying that you're putting that into a retirement scheme or something like that and not actually taking it out? Or how are you?
No, I'm taking it out. So the 5% is the profit for the business. So you're gonna think about this as this is not you accounting for it. This is you working a cash system. So 5% is the profit, and that's what you're going to have as retained profit in the business. So that might go into a rainy day account, that might just sit in the business. So you're not going to take that out. So you're going to allow for 5% each year to accrue within the business, and it's going to help for rainy day, etc. Right? Yeah. 50% you are going to take out, but you're going to use an extra dividend that will come from the excess in the VAT account. So if you think about, actually most people's VAT is probably about 13% that they'll have to pay, because about 7% they'll be reclaiming, and so therefore there's actually kind of a 7% accruing within that VAT account. So it works out for about us, we're about 13% is the actual VAT there. So we've got about 7% of revenue there, plus we've got 15% now in the tax account. So you're now looking at about 22% of turnover is kind of sitting in there to deal with tax. So that's entire revenue. So yes, it is 19% of profit, but that's actually half of that, because only half of that you're taking is profit, right? So it's not, so therefore you've now got excess that is sitting in there, and then that excess is what deals with your own personal income and tax.
But then I've still got to pay my self-assessment on that amount.
Yes, you do, but you're obviously on your self-assessment, you're being as intelligent of how you can do different tax purposes, because of course you'll get tax-free allowances, you'll get expenses, you can put stuff into your pension pre-tax. So that's where the accountancy becomes clever, and obviously legal, clearly. I mean, particularly from your position, but from everybody's position, you've got to do it right, but you do it intelligently. So yeah, pensions is a great way of doing it, because you can take that out before tax, and that mitigates it. And of course, it's bringing down the total bundle that you need to pay tax on. So it's all of those fun little cool ways of doing it. When you were saying
you'd put 10K a month into your investment pot, are you talking mainly about a pension there, or are you still it?
it's actually broken up a bit. So the kind of average is 10K, but we'll do. So I invest in like a Vanguard just because I'm so focused on just one thing and I'm really useless. I keep on investing in crypto at the wrong time, so I keep on losing money there. I just should not be in charge of my own investments. I'm just awful at it. And so I've got an empty house in Southampton at the moment. I can't be bothered to rent out, and it's just like my HMO. I'm useless at anything like that. So I use a Vanguard all of market tracker, which basically invests across the market and delivers about a 7 to 8% return on investment. So that's kind of my liquid investment cash. Which I can draw down on any time if I want to. For example, I'm doing this big building project at the moment at my place, so I'm self-funding it through the stuff that I've saved in the past. And then the second thing is that obviously the rest of it just goes into a pension pot, because then that solves a few of the tax issues as well. So it's just kind of, and I tell you the other thing that's really useful, Suzanne, is that I just pay myself this 50% every single. I do it twice a month. So 10th and the 25th, I take whatever's in that account, swipe it off, and put it into my bank. My accountant accruals for that as being director's loans, and the entire year it comes as director's loans. And at the end of the year, we do a really interesting meeting where we sit down and actually then go, right, you've had X amount of £1,000 as this director's loans. Before I submit this accounts, we now need to do the kind of the accounting of this to work out, right, what is salary, what are we going to put into a pension pot? What a pension will be sorted out as we go in. What are we going to do in terms of, X, Y, and Z? What expenses did you have on the business? How, all of that, those little bits. And then at the end of it, then you take a position and then he resorts the accounts out. So we don't worry about any of the way that I account for it until the meeting at the end of the month. And then he unpeels everything and then puts it in hoppers.
And you do that meeting monthly, not annually?
No, once a year.
Oh, once a year, okay.
Once a year, because we know because I have that, because we do an intent session. I know, therefore, at the end of that session, how I should approach it for the following year as well, because based upon the conversations, what we would have done better this year, what worked well, what went better. And then I go out and then start to kind of work the cash. It's pretty simple, right? So it's just at the end of it going, have you done any capital purchases? Yes. How much of the house do you use for work versus not? All those little bits. Where's the receipts for this? And then that session does all that nice little accounting at the end of the year and sorts all those bits out.
So really, you're getting your OPEX down. So you're on a 70% profit margin before tax.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm on about 50, and we've got a similar-ish business model. So I clearly need to.
Well, but yeah,
pull in the purse strings.
Yeah, but I think just obviously with how we've kept it, because I guess the slight difference is that I'm doing, I think, I've stopped doing so much ads. So when I was doing big ads, plays, etc., I was churning through a lot of cash, whereas I'm doing light touch ads, retargeting type ads on a consistent level, and I've got a target of just my 2 sales a week. That kind of flattened a lot of the costs, and I had to. The reason why I had to is because I only had that 30% bank account to pay stuff from, and when I got to the end of the month, I'll be like, oh my god, I haven't got enough cash to be able to pay this person, that person. I'm just thinking, oh no, like I'm now problem solving budgetary stuff because I'm only allowing myself to work with 30%. And that was really empowering for me, because it meant that I got rid of a lot of the fat that we were just paying for, a lot of the softwares that I was paying for. That's why I say to all my clients, keep it lean, keep it free when you're doing software, because they rack, they just rack up, don't they? So yeah.
No, we spend a fortune on Facebook ads. So yeah, we definitely need to look at that. Brilliant. That's really helpful. Thank you.
All right. No worries. I'll catch you in the next few days. Great to see you. Right. I'm going to quickly take a couple of questions, and then but before I just finally wrap up, do remember, gang, this strategy session, and as I say, they are coming in now. I'm just going to stick it back in there, but do jump in to this. It's coming in there now. And there's a number of interesting people that have had these sessions before. Do jump onto that strategy session. I'm telling you, we'll be able to go through these things, and they're not going to be around forever. Did I see Dan, or did he? Dan, did you have a question?
Sorry, mate. Yeah, I've clicked the lower hand button by accident, I think. It might be just worth. I've already booked a session with you for this
Awesome.
week. I managed to get one before they went for Friday, next Friday, I think it is actually. But I still don't really understand that profit side of things, if I'm totally honest. Because if I draw down 10 grand a month into my personal account, yes, I know I've got personal tax on that, but that's still classed as profit in my business that I would have had to pay corporation tax on. So I don't really understand.
No, because you're not bringing it all down as profit. So some of it you're taking as salary, because you know you'll get a tax-free allowance. So some of it you'll take as salary.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah.
And so therefore, not all of it will be classed as that. Some of it you can take as pension, which again isn't part of the profit. So it's part of the director's remuneration.
I think you can go up to like 40k a year or something.
Okay, yeah. And so you can see how actually it's about just working it and seeing how the story unfolds, and nobody gets their head around it until they do it, or just do the spreadsheet and then work it. Remember, the VAT, you're accruing 20%, but it's actually 13%, so you're taking the extras there. And the tax account 15%, you're only doing corporation tax on the actual profit at sort of 19%. So therefore you'll see there's actually a bigger excess than you think.
It's just interesting. I think that someone needs to go and promote that to most of the accountants in the UK, because they say,
they do, and the book is called Profit First, and the accountants hate it.
My accountant needs to read it then.
100%. But that's
there are special profit first accountants who market themselves now as profit first accountants.
Exactly right.
That's why we're in business, right?
it's inspiring, and this is the problem.
I've already ordered it.
It is genuinely, it's great. It's an American that makes it, so it is slightly tweaked, in terms of how that works. But genuinely, that's the book to be going after. I'm telling you, it was ground changing for me. You've got to then apply it in an entrepreneurial way. And accountants and entrepreneurs are like, from Mars and Venus, right? So you just got to say to them, this is how you've got to work. You've got to find someone that actually is aligned with your way of thinking. Genuinely, most people change accountants once they see this. Or their accountant gets on the wagon. So there you go. Right, I've got to actually go
my
on,
actual really quick question, but I think Richard's answered it, is about the hanging out in different. I mean, I'm in the property space. But I'm trying to focus more on my background in construction for the last 20 years, and to bring that as the unique side of it, if you like. But how often are you going into Facebook groups and actually, doing the CLAM acronym?
The beauty of it, whenever you want to start to drum up some inquiries, so it's a time. You've got to put your time into it, then you'll get the inquiries out. And so the answer from my perspective is not often, because I have a machine that's rolling for me now. But the answer from my client's perspective is that they can be doing it once a day, and to do it within their $1 million hour, say take 20 minutes to go and CLAM, because that then pays you back in terms of strategy sessions, so you get your first few leads. This is what we talk about, the 5-day challenge that we just had. Someone like Janice was just sharing that she's getting strategy sessions now off the back of the work there. So she's spending the time to do it, but it's paying back in terms of sales appointments. So there is time heavy, but payback heavy in terms of the amount of strategy sessions you can get. But then as you start to go up through those 5 to 9 steps, you then can put automation and ads in, which means it's less time heavy, and the payback is also strategy sessions.
That's the bit I need help with. I'm useless technical stuff.
Cool. Well, look, I look forward to going through it on the strategy session.
I'll speak to you then, mate. Thank you.
No worries. Well, look, thank you all so much. I hope that really helped, and I will see you guys next week for another marketing roundtable, or I will see you in a strategy session. Big love. Take care.
Thanks, Richard. Great seeing you.
Bye. Good to see you. Bye.